Hello everyone, dear student. In first lecture, we have seen about the formation of a crystal with the help of the lattice and the basis. And in second lecture, we have seen about the translation operation also. In this lecture, we are going to see about the different types of the lattices in 2 dimension and the 3 dimensions that are also known as the Bravais lattices. Students, now in this figure, now it is the framework or network of the lattice points. Such a framework of a lattice point built up by an infinite array of the discrete points generated by a set of the discrete translation operations in a 2 and the 3 dimensional space. Now in this figure, we can see here the 2 dimensional crystal lattice. And in these 2 figures, we can see that by using the translation operation, we can generate a unit cell. So, for the formation of a framework or the network of a lattice points, it needs the infinite array of the discrete points. This array of the discrete points generated by a set of the discrete translations operations. So for the generation of a framework, it needs the translation operations in the 2 dimension also and in the 3 dimensions also. Therefore, in a crystallography, such a framework or the network of a lattice is known as the Bravais lattice. Therefore, we can say that the Bravais lattice is a framework analogous to a 3-dimensional periodic array of the points on which a crystal is built. Therefore, in this figure, we can say that there is the periodic arrangement of the array of the lattice points, and it forms or it builds a crystal structure. The scientist M.A. Bravais developed the theory of the 14 different networks in a 3 dimension by using the fundamental translation vectors A, B and the C, and the 5 different lattices in the 2 dimensional by using the fundamental translation vectors A and B in 1850. Now here we are going to see in details about the 5 different Bravais lattices in a 2 dimensions. The first one is that the oblique lattice, in which, now see here, this is the 2-dimensional lattice array. The distance between the 2 lattice points along the x-axis say as the vector A, and the distance between the 2 lattice points along the y-axis say as the B. Now in this case here, the vector A is not equal to the vector B, and the angle between these 2 vectors should not be equal to the 90 degree or 180 degree. So for this condition, it forms the parallelogram. And such a type of the network in a two dimension is known as the oblique lattice type of the network. In the second type of that the network, now here these two vectors are equal and the angle between these two vectors is the 90 degree, and hence it forms the network is a square type of that the network, and due to that it is known as the square type of that the lattice. In a third type of that network, now if we connect all these lattice points in such a way that there is the formation of the hexagonal lattice, and the distance between the two lattice points, the adjacent lattice point, say as the vector A and the vector B, and the angle between these two adjacent vectors should be equal to be the 120 degree. Now then, if we connect these 6 lattice points in such a way that when it satisfies this condition, now then such a type of the lattice is known as the hexagonal type of that lattice. In fourth type of the network, that is called the rectangular type of the lattice, there are the two types of the rectangular type of the lattice. Now in first type, now here again the condition is when the two vectors are not equal, but angle between these two vectors, now in this case here it is not equal to be the 90 degree, but in case of that the centered rectangular type of the lattice, the two vectors are not equal and the angle between these two vectors is the 90 degree, and here we are considering there is the one point which is at the center, and due to that it is known as the centered rectangular type of that the lattice. So these 5 types of the networks considered by the Bravais in 2 dimensions. Now we are going to see the 14 different Bravais lattice in 3 dimensions. Now these 14 different types of the networks are grouped into the 7 types of the conventional unit cell. Now here we are considering the 3 fundamental translations vector A, B and the C, and the angle between these 3 are alpha, beta and the gamma respectively. The first group is the cubic type of that the group, or that is known as the cubic system. Now in this group the 3 type of the Bravais lattice or the networks are given, and the condition for the fundamental translations vectors and the angles between these fundamental translations vector is here. So all these vectors should be equal. The angle between these 3 vectors, that is alpha, beta and the gamma, also equal to be the 90 degree. So we can see here. Now the first one is that the simple cubic structure. Now here all lattice points or the atoms are at the corners of this cube. The second one is that the body centered, and third one is that the face centered. So now in this body centered, the one atom is at the center of the cubic structure, and in case of that the face centered, there is the one atom is located at the every face of the cube, and due to that it is known as the face centered type of the cubic structure. The angle between these three vectors should be 90 degree. That means these three vectors are perpendicular with each other. So the number of the different lattices in this system are 3, that are the simple cubic structure, the body centered cubic structure, and the face centered cubic structure, that is the SI, then the BCC, and that the FCC. Now these are the materials having the cubic type of the structure. The second group is the tetragonal. The tetragonal groups having the two types of the network. One is the simple. The condition for that, the fundamental translation vectors is vector A and B are equal, but the C is not equal. And here the angle between these three vectors is and the angle between these three vectors is 90 degree. So here now this is the simple cubic structure, and here this is the body centered, that is the BCC type of that tetragonal structure. Now these are the materials having the such a type of the structure. The third one is that the orthorhombic group. Now here the orthorhombic group having the four type of the network. The one is that the simple orthorhombic, second one is that the base centered rhombic, third one is that the body centered rhombic, and fourth one is that the face centered rhombic. The condition for the orthorhombic is the vector A is not equal to the vector B and not equal to the vector C. That means these three vectors are not equal, but these three vectors are perpendicular with each other. That is, the angle between these three vectors is equal to be the 90 degree. So now we can see here the first one is the simple orthorhombic type of the structure. Now then here this is the base centered. So here the one atom is at the base face and the top face of this structure. The third one is that the body centered, means one atom is located at the center of the body of this structure, and fourth one is that the face centered, means the 6 atoms are located at the 6 faces of this orthorhombic. Now these are the materials which having the orthorhombic type of the structure. The fourth group is the monoclinic. The monoclinic group having the two type of the networks. One is the simple monoclinic type and second one is the base centered. The condition for the fundamental translations vectors is the vector A is not equal to vector B and is not equal to the vector C. And the angle between the alpha and the beta, it should be the 90 degree, but the gamma is not equal to the 90 degree. So here this is the simple monoclinic type of the structure, and this is the base centered. That means the one atom is located at the base face of the structure here, and due to that it is known as the base center. So these are the materials having the such a type of the structure. The fifth group is the triclinic group. Now it having only a single network, and that is the simple type of that the structure. The condition is that all these three vectors are not equal, and also the angle between these three vectors should not be equal to the 90 degree. So the structure should be like this here, that is the simple structure, and it is known as the triclinic. Now these are the materials having such a type of the structure. The sixth group is the trigonal, that is also known as the rhombohedral type. It also having the only one type of the structure, and the condition is that all three vectors are equal. The angle between the alpha and the beta is 90 degree, but the angle between these three vectors again should not be the 90 degree. So we can observe here the rhombohedral type of the structure is like this here. Now these materials having such a type of that network. And last group is the hexagonal type. It also having only the single structure. The condition of the fundamental vectors is here the vector A equal to the B, but both should not equal to the C. And the angle between the alpha and the beta is equal to the 90 degree, and the gamma should be 120 degree. Now here this is the hexagonal type of the network here, or the structure. So the angle between here this is the alpha and the beta. Now both, that means they are perpendicular with each other, but now here this is the gamma. That means here this is the gamma here, and it should be 120 degree. So the bravas having this 14 lattices grouped into the 7 type. So you should remember about these 7 groups, and every group having how many structures are included in each group, and also what is the condition of the fundamental vectors, and angle between these fundamental vectors is very important. So thank you all of you.